All I want is a good day, to know with certainty that this car is back together right. What I don't want is a repeat of what always seems to happen. Progress amounting up to momentum, moving forward, and then ultimately stopping because of something out of my control, something I've got to wait for, and something I don't want to happen again. Still, I can't help but feeling this hesitation. After all this work, I still don't even know if this engine's good or not, or any more than I did about how to get it back together. I'm still flying blind, and all I want is to know with certainty I'm on the right track. To be content with progress rather than completion. But I don't think I'm there yet. What if I miss something else? What happens then? Talk about feeling like forever. Even though it got here ahead of schedule, it just couldn't get here fast enough. Right after I finally felt like I was gaining momentum, the whole gasket issue happened, stopping me in my tracks until I figured it out. But now that it's here, all I've got to do is replace it, and I can pick back up right where I left off. Too bad it's going to take who knows how long to get it clean enough to reinstall. This gasket and the valve covers seem to have been leaking for a very, very long time. I can't imagine how much better it'll run and how much less it'll smell like oil once it's back together, because it's absolutely filthy. Not to mention, almost every hose clamp on the car at this point is no longer tight, which I can't imagine is very good for them creating a seal. One step at a time though. While this cover isn't even visible, I just don't want it to look as crusty as it does. I feel like I've made big strides in this regard with this car, going out of my way to make things better than they were. That's something I've been working on, and it's a trend I want to continue. And also part of the reason I decided to spend the crazy amount of $270 for this very specific gasket. No idea why it's that expensive, but sometimes you just want to know things are done right. At least that's how I've been feeling recently, though I don't know how much of that is due to the fact I've not heard this car start before. I also figured I'd replace the hose clamp while I was in here, as it's lost all its tension. That'll probably help with the leaks. Sadly, with the end of that diversion, I was right back where I was before, staring at a puzzle I had no idea how to put back together. And the more I looked, the more pieces I found. What I once thought to be a zip tie looks to actually be a broken off vacuum line. And who knows where this came from? All I know is what the situation shows me. It was laying somewhere over here. So naturally, that's where the other end should be too. And since it's a hard line, I'm probably looking for something rubber. Thank God there's not that many lines over here. That looks like the end of a broken off piece of vacuum line to me. Getting it out is going to be the tricky part though. It's broken off flush, too small for pliers to grab onto, and the needle nose don't even fit. So I had to get a little bit aggressive. I chopped off the whole part of the hose that it was stuck in, effectively making the hose smaller so that I could shove a vacuum extension inside. Then I can just take a piece of silicone vacuum hose and connect the two like they were before. Not a perfect solution, and eventually I'd like to make it better. But this at least solves the mystery of where this went. And since it's a naturally aspirated car, these lines don't really see much pressure, so it'll probably hold as long as I need it to. Now I guess the only question I can ask myself is what should I do next? I'd like to know the vacuum system's complete, but I also want the manifold on. Learning more lines or complicating the system? I've got a sneaking suspicion that half of the vacuum lines I'll be trying to fix end up routing themselves to the manifold. So I'm thinking this is one of those weird cases. The situations where complicating the mystery with a new addition, a new system, new clues, actually is going to result in something that's easier to understand as a whole. Or at least there'll be more loose ends that might fit together. Either way, before the manifold goes on, it needs a serious clean. I let it soak in some industrial degreaser, and now I'm using the steam cleaner to try and save what's left of this surface finish. The issue is, I don't know how well that's gonna work. I think no matter what, it won't look as good as the valve covers do, but I guess it's worth a try. Time passed, and I hardly realized that I spent almost half a day cleaning this thing. And what's worse is it wasn't looking even close to as good as the valve covers do. So I figured, since I do have the extra paint, it makes no sense not to at least give them the same finish that the valve covers do. That way there's not 17 different shades of silver on the whole thing. It's not going to be perfect by any means, but it'll be uniform, which is a lot better than it would be as is. It feels like it's been forever, but I really can't think of anything else that can go on next other than those intake manifold spacers from JHM. Especially with the gasket replaced and the intake manifold itself cleaned up, these truly are the only thing that makes sense next. And since the car's this far apart, the install is actually fantastically simple, beginning the same way that any other gasket install does. Loads and loads of surface prep. Now this spacer is not an OE replacement. It's an upgrade. Raising the intake manifold like this lowers the intake air temperature. In theory, you get faster velocity and lower temperature air, meaning slightly more horsepower, more torque, and less heat soak with repeated pulls. At least that's what the claims are on a bunch of forums. Either way, since the car's this far apart, it makes no sense to take it back apart later when I could just do this now. Since it's a lot thicker than an OE gasket, the guide pins that are on the engine are no longer adequate. I mean, they technically do the same thing, but the kit supplies longer ones, and that would help a lot in lining everything up at the end. Each bank of cylinders has two. One metal one which comes out with a flathead, thank God it wasn't stuck, and the other one which is a plastic pin and almost always is broken off into the manifold itself. Since it's plastic though, it's very simple to simply drill it out the bottom. It's a pass-through hole after all. Leave it to the UPS man to give me a heart attack. At least he let me know. Hey, I know what this is. I almost forgot I ordered this. Not for the S6, but it sure is a lot of motivation to finish it as soon as possible. With the guide pins in, I re-cleaned the surface and prepared the gasket sandwich. Gasket, spacer, gasket. And as weird as it sounds, I was in way better spirits than normal today. I had one thing on my mind, and that was really it. I want to get this car started. No, I want to know if this car starts. I don't know how to get there yet, but that's my goal. And even though I'm swimming in waters I can't see the bottom of, it sure is nice to be moving again. One big step towards being content. Okay, well the spacers are on, and everything's moved out of the way. I don't know why I'm second guessing it all of a sudden, but I guess there really is nothing else I can do until I put the manifold on. Maybe I'm scared it's starting to actually look like an engine again. I uncovered the intake manifold, and to my surprise, it's the best finish I've gotten yet with a painted part. While admiring it though, I also noticed just how many things are attached to this. And I say things because I don't know what they are yet. I'm still only going off completed diagrams and how the car feels like it should go back together. Every unconnected vacuum port, loose wire, or loose coolant line is a part of the puzzle, and step by step all I'm doing is trying to gain ground and figure out where they need to go. 2 loose connections on the harness, and I know the intake's the top side of the manifold, so they must be on this end, next to these unconnected vacuum lines. Completely different system, but connected at the same place. There's vacuum lines on the top side too. 2 larger ones here, one on the hose, a hard pipe, another small one, and a port into the manifold itself. All in all, there's like 20 connections I've got to figure out. Maybe it'll make more sense with the intake actually sitting where it needs to be. My hope is just like the wiring harness, I can use the length of the vacuum lines to help determine where they possibly could go, then use the diagram to know for sure. At least the harnesses up front are easy. 2 with the same type of connection, but they're color-coded differently. I split my time between the front and the back of the engine, all the while having not bolted down the intake manifold because I was convinced it would be coming off again. This whole time I'd convinced myself this was just a trial run for the fitment, but maybe it didn't have to be. One of the big things I have on my side for the vacuum system is that all of the lines are form-fitted. They seem to only be able to reach one place, but that's only true for the big lines. The hockey puck can only connect to this hard pipe. I have the small vacuum hose connected to the back right here, but it's just not sitting right with me. No, I don't feel that one's correct at all. I need more trial and error. The bigger lines are by far and away the easiest ones to figure out. They've all got very specific shapes, and because they've been on here for years, it seems like they all have a natural resting position. It's almost like the car wants to be put back together, like each piece is slowly guiding me to its home. But for as many easy pieces as there are just as many which are confusing. Not to mention, I've just been concerned with vacuum lines here. There's multiple other systems I'll need to connect to. But if I've learned anything so far, it's that the manifold is in the right position, and nothing seems to be trapped underneath. So I might as well bolt it down with the JHM extended hardware and torque it down in the star pattern listed in that kit as well. With the manifold finally in place, I jumped back into figuring out where everything goes. I was determined to make more progress, even if I didn't really know where I was going. I tightened the hose clamp on the bottom of the pancake valve, and then decided to further complicate the system by installing the fuel rail. Similar to my decision to toss the manifold on, this complicated the system, but gave us more pieces to work with. Plus, there's only one way it can go back on, and it's not a piece we can skip, so it's absolutely a step forward. Having the rail back in place inspired me to forget about vacuum lines for a little bit and go back to the wiring harness. Each of the injectors has a connection that needs to be made, and in making this connection, I noticed a little attachment to the fuel rail itself. It's a hole that's about the size and shape of a wiring connection. So I looked around that side of the engine bay, and lo and behold, one of the connections I made before is actually better routed and properly routed through this little bracket that holds it in place. It would have worked the way it was, but I wouldn't have known the correct way without making the system more complicated first. The fuel system was one of the easiest systems to reconnect on the car. There are 2 lines that go into the rail, and they can only go in one place. Plus, they have different connection types, so there's no way to get them confused. I was starting to get into the flow again. Everywhere I looked, I found one more piece of the puzzle, but I also found a place for that piece to go. There's a grounding wire on either side of the engine, and based on the harness, this is the only place they can go. I tested my theory, confirmed it with the diagram on the book, and then redid it on the other side. At this point, I had made a lot of progress on the passenger side, which needed to be replicated on the driver's side, at least where the harness is concerned. One of the biggest unknowns I still had was the small lines in the vacuum system. I had a long small line in the front and a short one in the back, and up until the rail was installed, I really had no idea where these ones went. But now that it was there, it was all starting to make sense. This line fits naturally on this valve up here, and the small line from the back does the same. To my knowledge, other than the 2 large hoses connected to the front and back of the valve covers, the vacuum system is now entirely connected on this car. I realized that this is the most this car has ever looked like it had an engine in it. Sure, I've still got to rebuild the coolant system, do a couple more vacuum lines, and rebuild the intake, but unlike where I started this weekend, this engine looks like it could run, and that is not something I could say beforehand. I failed at my goal to get the engine running, but I wasn't nearly as upset as I thought I would be. Maybe rather than focusing on the end goal, I can learn to be happy with just having a good day, and enjoy taking things as they come, fully being in the present. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing for more. That's the best way you can help support me and my content. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.